Hello, and a very good morning from the Hungarian capital Budapest, and I never thought I'd quite say this, but I'm coming to you from an apartment full of minions. I mean, they're literally everywhere. Make of that what you will. Anyway, digression aside, today I will be travelling with the Hungarian national operator MÁV-START across the Füzesabony. I've never actually travelled with MÁV-START before, so I don't really have any idea what to expect from them, to be honest. I booked a first class ticket for today's journey. It was only a little bit more than second class, so I thought, hey, why not treat myself? And yeah, other than that, I think it's time to make the short walk from my apartment to Budapest-Keleti station and head to Füzesabony. Budapest-Keleti, or Budapest East to give its English name, is the busiest station here in the Hungarian capital, and is the city's main terminal for intercity and international trains. Now, despite the rather British weather they're experiencing here in Budapest today, the station and its grand facade are looking rather splendid, don't you think? This lovely structure dates back to the mid-1880s. In terms of getting to the station, Budapest-Keleti features interchange access to a number of lines on the city's metro, tram, trolleybus and regular bus networks. Heading inside, and it appears that there's quite a bit of construction work going on here at the minute. I mean, the bits of the station that I saw looked like they were in need of a bit of TLC, so it's good to see that there's quite a bit of maintenance going on here. Also, just look at how impressive this curved canopy is. It really is amazing in my opinion. Now, there are a few shops and eateries located within the station. However, should you find that these are not really to your taste, then fear not, as there are also plenty on offer in the area immediately surrounding the station. A large departure board can be found in the centre of the concourse. Now, I found this to be clear and easy to read, with information being displayed in Hungarian, English and German. One of the notable international trains to serve the station is this railjet service of the Austrian national operator ÖBB. This one will soon be heading to Munich in Germany via Vienna. Now, something I wasn't expecting to see here was a first class lounge. If I'd known this was here, I would have come much earlier, as my ticket grants me access. As it is though, unfortunately, it's time to head over to platform 1 for boarding. The service we'll be catching today is the 0930, which actually has a final destination of nearby Budapest-Nyugati station. You see, a lot of intercity trains here in Hungary will run from Keleti to Nyugati in a sort of circular route. Despite not even being 5 kilometers apart, it'll take our train over 6 hours to travel between the two stations. Now, obviously you wouldn't take one of these trains between Keleti and Nyugati, and nor is that their purpose. I just think it's an interesting way of running things, that's all. Now, this won't be hauling us today, but this loco here, that I assume hauled the train in from the depot, is a rather ancient V43 electric locomotive. Despite the newest of these now being 40 years old, they are still a pretty popular choice of haulage here in Hungary, with over 200 still being in service. This particular example dates from 1969. However, today we'll be hauled by a much more modern Bombardier Taxx locomotive. In terms of passenger coaches, well, as is often the case with these classic loco-hauled trains, there's quite a variety. However, our coach is an APEE 10-44 carriage. These were built between 1967 and 1976, so again, not exactly recently. There's also this rather fancy and modern-looking multifunctional coach, which of course we'll come and take a look at in a bit, along with the rest of the train. But for now, let's go and find our seat.
Ajtajai automatikusan záródnak. Tisztelt utasaink! Felhívjuk szíves figyelmüket, hogy a pályaudvarokon, állomásokon, megállóhelyeken és a vonatokon a dohányzás.
The coach we're in today is the train's only first class carriage. Now, apparently, these coaches were last refurbished in 2017, although I must say that, bar perhaps the information screens, I'm not seeing much evidence of this. It all looks very retro at first glance. Anyway, I have coach 18, seat 22 today, and we'll take a seat as soon as one of the conductors moves her breakfast. Now, I imagine that these would be a bit tight were you to have someone sitting opposite you. As it is though, first class is practically empty today. A litter bin can be found under the table, although it looks like someone's already used this one. The bays of 2 and 4 all have access to a nice big table. A lever to control the recline can be found down to the side, which is always nice. And I actually found that these seats recline quite some way. Now, despite looking like something straight out of the 1980s, these seats are actually pretty comfortable, featuring good padding and a nice headrest. Lastly, you'll also find some curtains, a reading light and a plug socket. Overall, while perhaps very dated, a comfortable and well enough equipped hard product in my opinion. Anyway, we're now departing and we've set off on time at 9:30. As we depart, let's just take a quick look at our route for today. Well, we'll be heading east today and running non-stop for the 1 hour and 19 minute journey to Füzesabony. Top speed today will be 120 kilometers an hour or 75 miles an hour.
Azokat ne hagyják őrizetlenül. Felhívjuk szíves figyelmüket, hogy pályaudvarokon, állomásokon, megállóhelyeken.
Right, as this is only a relatively short journey, I think we'd better head for a wander. Given that pretty much all of the train's crew decided to set up camp in our coach, I'll start in the next coach as I don't really want to get yelled at. The coach in front is that multifunctional coach I mentioned earlier. It features a mix of open saloon and semi-compartment style seating. There are also a couple of spaces for wheelchair users in this coach too. Towards the far end, in addition to an accessible toilet, there are also several bicycle spaces. A bicycle ticket is required should you want to make use of these, and on this journey, this will set you back an additional 630 forints. The 4 coaches in front of this all have the exact same layout, so I won't bore you with showing you all of them, but they're very similar to the first class coach that our seat's in. But of course, the seats here are laid out in a 2+2 configuration, as opposed to 2+1. In terms of luggage storage, there are no larger stacks I'm afraid, only overhead racks and between the backs of the seats. And then, at the front, we can peer through to the locomotive. So, the toilets. They were pretty clean actually. My only complaint is that there was no soap, but in the grand scheme of things, good work on the part of MÁV-START here. To my surprise, this train is Wi-Fi enabled. While I couldn't get my usual speed test to run, it seemed alright actually. I was able to get YouTube to stream in 720p, which is something I guess. Now all that's left for us to do is sit back and watch the countryside roll on by. I should probably also mention that no catering is provided on this service, so just bear that in mind before starting your journey. So, as we approach the end of today's trip, a few final thoughts. This has been a rather pleasant and comfortable journey, hasn't it? Now sure, with the exception of the multifunctional coach, these coaches are all pretty dated, but you'll still find everything you might need here. I believe that they've even been retrofitted with air conditioning, which I'm sure would have come in very handy had I travelled on a nicer day. So, certainly not really much in the way of complaints from me, especially when you consider the cost. My one-way first-class ticket, which also included an onward connection to nearby Eger, cost 3,181 forints, which, considering I only booked my ticket the night prior, is pretty good value for money in my opinion, and on par with what you could expect to pay in this part of Europe. So, an enjoyable experience, but what are your thoughts and opinions on this service? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. Yes. Sorry. Thank you. Well, the train didn't stop here for long, did it now? Anyway, welcome to a rather rainy Füzesabony, where we've arrived just a few minutes late, at 10:53. Anyway, I do hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to help us out by giving it a like. If you're new to the channel, then be sure to subscribe and enable notifications as I publish new trip reports every Friday. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next Friday.